Welcome to ICM 2026. Our program will begin in 5 minutes. Please take your seats. Welcome to ICM 2026. Our program is about to begin. Please silence all cell phones and take your seats. please welcome to the stage our ICM 2026 opening ceremony MCs, Tracy Day, co-founder and CEO of the World Science Festival, and Brian Green, director of the Center for Theoretical Physics, Columbia University, and co-founder of the World Science Festival.
Good morning, friends and colleagues. On behalf of the International Mathematical Union and the ICM Local Organizing Committee, we warmly welcome you to the 2026 International Conference of Mathematicians. And please give another round of applause for the West Philadelphia Orchestra.
Welcome again to this 2026 ICM. I'm Brian Green. It's a great pleasure to be with you here this morning. The first ICM was held in Zurich. That was in 1897 with a few hundred attendees, but its precursor took place here in America at a small gathering of mathematicians in 1893 at the Chicago World's Fair organized by the University of Chicago. Now, since then, the Congress has been held in 18 countries and hosted over 75,000 participants from across the globe, celebrating the field's brightest minds and forging lifelong collaborations. Today's ceremony marks the first time in 40 years that the United States has the honor to host math's most prestigious conference. The previous time, that was back in 1986 at the University of California, Berkeley, where perhaps some of you may remember the Congress events were spread across the entire Berkeley campus and the Bay Area, and attendees were given a taste of California's Old West history with a Western-style barbecue and rodeo at the historic Cow Palace, attended by over 2,800 ICM participants. Now, while there wasn't much in the way of bull riding at last night's welcome reception at the Reading Terminal Market, I trust many of you enjoyed delicious food from the best of Philadelphia. Absolutely. That was cuisine reflecting the richness and diversity of one of America's oldest cities. And we do hope you'll visit some of the historical sites, including Independence Hall, where both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution were debated and signed, as well as the iconic symbol of freedom, the Liberty Bell. Please also do not miss the memorial at nearby Fairmount Park. This is to the 20th President of the United States, James Garfield. Now, Garfield was the first, and as far as I know, as yet, the only US president to publish a result in mathematics. It was a nice little proof of the Pythagorean theorem. I've checked it. It's right. And you'll note that at the conclusion of this argument, Garfield ends with this being a proof that members from both houses of Congress could agree on. Now, optimism of that sort could be afforded back in 1876, but in our era, unlikely. Now, the wonderful thing about this Congress, and dare I say the wonderful thing about our field, is that it brings together thousands of practitioners celebrating insights that do not require a coalition or a quorum or a vote because they can be proven.
Planning the Congress takes years of hard work, which would not be possible without the support and guidance of the following people who would like to welcome to the stage. International Mathematical Union President Hiraku Nakajima, International Mathematical Union Secretary General Christoph Surga, Simons Foundation co-founder and chair Marilyn Simons, ICM 2026 Local Organizing Committee co-chairs Jalal Shatta of New York University and Yuri Chinkel, Simons Foundation Executive Vice President for Mathematics and Physical Sciences and Professor of Mathematics at New York University. And Deirdre Haskell, Director of the Fields Institute, and Robert Gerard, Professor of Mathematics at the University of Toronto. Please give them a round of applause. We now welcome Jalal Shatta, Silver Professor of Mathematics at New York University and co-chair of the 2026 ICM Local Organizing Committee, to the lectern to welcome you all on behalf of the brave men and women who aged significantly over the past 6 years planning this event.
Can you hear me? Good morning and welcome to the International Congress of Mathematicians 2026. On behalf of the Local Organizing Committee, it's a great pleasure to welcome all of you to Philadelphia. The leadership of the International Mathematical Union, the prize recipients, the students, and the volunteers. The ICM is one of the central gatherings of our profession. It's where we celebrate extraordinary mathematical achievements, encounter new ideas, and see the remarkable breadth and vitality of mathematics today. But what truly defines the ICM is the people who come together around it. It is the speaker who share the deepest ideas, the participants who listen, question, challenge, and build upon them. It's also conversations in the corridors, over coffee, and at informal gatherings that often become the beginning of collaborations, friendships, and new mathematics. Mathematics may require long periods of solitary thought, but it's also profoundly human and collaborative. A question after a lecture, a chance meeting, a discussion between mathematicians from different countries and traditions may have consequences that none of us foresee. These encounters are not secondary to the Congress. They are an essential part of its purpose. The ICM represents openness, solidarity, and the shared intellectual purpose. It's especially meaningful to gather here in Philadelphia during the 250th anniversary of the United States, a city associated with the value of open exchange, and therefore a fitting place to welcome international mathematical community. For me personally, this occasion has a very special meaning. I came to this country as a young refugee, fleeing civil war and uncertain of what the future would hold. I was fortunate to encounter acts of kindness and generosity that changed the course of my life. Mathematics then gave me a profession, a community, and a home. To borrow a phrase from a fictional footballer, Danny Rojas, football is life. For many of us gathering here, mathematics is life, a source of beauty, friendship, purpose, and belonging. A Congress at this scale is possible only through the dedication of and support of many people and institutions. As you can see on the screen, we are deeply grateful to our partners and supporters. I would like to offer special thanks to the Simons Foundation, the National Science Foundation, for their extraordinary support. We are deeply indebted to the Simons Foundation leadership and staff for their support. Without this support, the task would have been insurmountable. I'd like to veer off the script. I'm going to veer off the script a little bit, and I would like to express a personal, heartfelt thanks to Marilyn Simon, to the leadership of the foundation, in particular to David Spergel and Yuri Chenko. And to the staff that helped us in organizing this event. An undertaking like this cannot be accomplished without an extraordinary support staff. So a huge thank you to Megan Fazzi and the rest of the staff for keeping us in check, making sure we are on the right track on day to day. Without you, this event would not have been possible. I also would like to express my deep gratitude to every member of the local organizing committee for the years of work, patience, and dedication that brought us to this moment. Finally, I want to thank all of you. Your presence, your questions, your conversations are what give this Congress its meaning. Welcome to the ICM 2026. Welcome to Philadelphia. I wish all of you wonderful and inspiring Congress.
Thank you, Jalal. Mathematics has generally thought of itself as a field without borders, no walls, no divisions, a single conversation carried on across time in every language and open to every flag. And yet, 2 years after the First World War, divisions cut straight through the heart of the mathematics community. When the International Congress resumed in 1920 in Strasbourg, the mathematicians of the defeated nations were barred from attending. 4 years later, at the 1924 Congress in Toronto, that door was still shut. Colleagues who should have been trading in theorems were instead trading in anger and resentment. The mathematics community had been carved up by war and by politics. Now, the man who organized that Toronto Congress was a University of Toronto professor named John Charles Fields. He had maintained the exclusion of certain nations, respecting rules that the majority had supported, but what he did afterward is the reason we are all here. Quiet and in the best of ways stubborn, Fields set out to do something almost naive. Summer after summer, he crossed the Atlantic, more than 8,000 miles in 1930 alone, tracking mathematicians down one conversation at a time on both sides of that old wound, working to bring the shunned countries back into a community that had shut them out. And when he found he could not fully heal the rift through committees and institutions, he reached for something singular and durable, an honor, answering to no nation, to no flag, for the finest mathematics coming from anywhere on Earth, what we now call the Fields Medal. Now consider what he chose to put on the medallion. He forbade any national emblem, any founder's name, including his own, and in their place was set the face of Archimedes, dead 2,000 years, and a line of Latin which would strain my powers to recite in the original, but in one translation reads, "To transcend oneself and grasp the universe." There it is. That's the creed inscribed in gold. Now, Fields did not live to see any of this fully realized. The final medal designed and struck and placed in a deserving hand because he died in the summer of 1932 before the world's mathematicians had even voted to accept the prize, and he left his estate to help pay for it. But that creed summarizes the thing Fields understood, the thing I suspect every one of you has felt on both your best days and your worst. A theorem has no nationality. When Alfors and Douglas received the first two medals in 1936, the theorems they had proven were simply true. True regardless of whose hand held the pen. True whether read in Helsinki or New York. True if every border on the map were redrawn tomorrow. True in languages no one has invented yet. True on a planet we haven't yet found. You know, we live in a loud age, an age of trends that burn white hot on Monday and vanish by Friday, an age where it can feel like everything solid is suddenly up for negotiation. The facts, the institutions, the ground under our feet. Our species, or at least some of our leaders, can be willful and capricious. Yet, we all here, we are part of a human endeavor that outlasts the humans who do it. The empires that stood when Archimedes drew his circles, they're gone. The politics that split Field's world are a chapter in history books. But the mathematics is still here, and it has grown larger, deeper, and more astonishing than anyone in 1932 would have had the right to expect. 64 times. That medal has been struck in gold with a name engraved around its edge. Names of some who are still with us and many more who are not. But their ideas continue. In a way, this is the closest thing we have to immortality. Each person ultimately fades. But the ideas, the good ideas, they travel on, pass hand to hand, mind to mind, across the very borders that can divide us. Fields was right. He built something he never saw for people he never met on the faith that mathematics would outlive him. And it has. It will outlive everyone in this room too. We are the temporary stewards of ideas that generation upon generation push our understanding forward, allowing us together to live out the medal's founding vision, to transcend ourselves and grasp the universe. And now it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the stage IMU President Hiraku Nakajima for his opening remarks and the presentation of the 2026 Fields Medals.
Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, dear participants, dear colleagues joining us online via the live stream, I'm Hiraku Nakajima, President of International Mathematical Union. It is my great pleasure and honor as President of IMU, International Mathematical Union, to welcome all of you to the award ceremony of the International Congress of Mathematicians, or ICM 2026, here in Philadelphia. It is customary to hold the IMU award ceremonies during the opening ceremony of the ICM. For each IMU recipient, we will show a short video. These videos were created as a result of collaboration between the IMU and the Simons Foundation. The IMU is deeply grateful to the Simons Foundation for generously agreeing to fund and produce them. We begin with Fields Medal. The Fields Medal recognizes outstanding mathematical achievement and the promise of future contribution. As President of International Mathematical Union, I had the honor of chairing the committee that selected this year's recipient, following a careful and thoughtful review of the nomination from around the world. The four medalists exemplified the depth, originality, and vitality of contemporary mathematics, and we are delighted to celebrate their achievement here at the ICM. The Fields Medal Committee comprised myself as a chair, Wei-Nan Yi, Alessio Figari, Udi Hrushevsky, Jan Mukwan, Svetlana Zhytomilskaya, Jean-François Lugal, Wolfgang Luck, Karen Bachmann, and Nicholas Wormad. Additionally, Larry Goose, Bao Chao, and Sylvia Serfati were committee members initially, but resigned before the last decision because of conflict of interest. The medals and cash prize are funded by a trust established by fields at the University of Toronto. Although the trust has been supplemented periodically, additional support was needed. We are grateful to the University of Toronto and Fields Institute for generously covering the shortfall. So we announced the name of the Fields Medal recipient in alphabetical order of the family name. We award Uden with the Fields Medal for his work in partial differential equations, including the rigorous derivation of the Boltzmann equation from hard sphere dynamics for rarefied gases, the derivations of wave kinetic equations from nonlinear dispersive systems, and probabilistic approaches to nonlinear Schrödinger dynamics.
As you watch the waves, you realize it has such a simple, formally simple motion, but realize there's something actually very complicated inside. The question is, how do these simple motions come from these complicated interactions? One of the things that we are interested in is to find patterns within randomness. I usually like to walk close to water, close to the river, the lake, or the forest areas that is close to nature. I tend to be relaxed, and that makes the chance higher to have some real good ideas. I had dreams about math. Sometimes I dream about questions that I actually haven't worked on. I had these dreams when I was writing these papers about legitimate math questions, but in reality I haven't written any of the papers. I'm a professor of mathematics at University of Chicago. I mainly work in the field of PDEs, partial differential equations, and also kind of in connection with probability. The questions I work on mainly concerns how do you see these real-world phenomena like fluids, like waves, from the microscopic pictures of interacting tiny particles. I grew up in Shenzhen in China. When I was in 6th grade, I was working with my dad on a particular question about finding patterns in a particular sequence, and I remember we spent like a few hours together to solve that, and at the end we were really happy that we could solve this question, and that was perhaps the earliest thing I could remember when I get excited about mathematics. I started learning Go when I was maybe about 6. The game of Go is really about analyzing the positions of the board and really having an accurate idea about it before you make your move. In some sense, it was maybe closer to the idea of thinking about mathematical questions and having an idea of the question before you start really working on it. I seriously played it for a few years. I even thought of going for professionals, but in the end I wasn't successful, so I gave up and I turned to the math competitions. I went to the IMO in Slovenia in 2006 and got a gold medal. I started to think maybe I really have some talent in this field and maybe I should really try to pursue this field. Consider a billiard ball. It moves in a straight line, collides with other billiard balls, changing velocity, and keeps moving. Simple. But what if we have trillions of such tiny balls constantly colliding with each other? This is what happens in the hot sphere model of gases, where the little billiards are the gas particles. For such a huge system, it's practically impossible to track each individual particle precisely. Instead, we're interested in the statistical information of the system, overall distribution of the particles, average velocity, and so on. This will be captured in a single density function, which is governed by Boltzmann's kinetic equation. In the parallel picture, consider the water waves, which can be viewed as a system of many wave packets, again constantly interacting with each other. This occurs in the physical phenomena of wave turbulence, where the statistical information is governed by the wave kinetic equation. With collaborators, we successfully justified both scenarios in suitable kinetic limits on mathematical level. The key challenge is that an average particle will experience arbitrarily many collisions and complicate dynamics, as opposed to less than one collision in previous works. To overcome this, we introduced multi-layer diagrams representing the whole collision process and inventing ways to analyze them effectively. These diagrams are enormous in size, but they are formed by the basic building blocks. Each of these basic scenarios, for example, when the billiard ball has one single collision, or when it has one collision that causes a second collision, is easy to estimate. Then, by a carefully designed cutting algorithm, we can break any diagram into such building blocks, which in the end guarantees a complete understanding of the diagrams and leads to the resolution of the full problem. After several thousand years, there are still a lot of mysteries about the universe. Our understanding of the physical universe on the mathematical level is still extremely small. The thing that keeps me in this field is the happiness when your plan works perfectly, that you're able to solve the questions you're faced with.
Please welcome Yuden to accept his award. So let us go to the second winner. We award John Pardon with the Fields Medal for his achievement in symplectic geometry, including new approach to virtual fundamental cycles for categories of certain manifolds and counting holomorphic curves, and for his contribution to other areas of geometry and topology, including group action on 3 manifolds and knot theory.
The pitch range of a cello is very similar to the pitch range of a human voice. Sort of like speaking without speaking, like expressing some emotion or thought, which you don't really have the words for, can't really identify verbally. That's usually where I have the most free thinking moments. I'm a professor of mathematics at Stony Brook University and part of the Simon Center for Geometry and Physics. Broadly speaking, I'm interested in geometry and topology. Visualization is sort of essential for any sort of thinking I do. Even when I'm doing fields which are generally thought of as non-geometric at all, like some algebraic manipulations or commutative diagrams.
Nah. Cool. Sure.
是
Sure.
医生
Fine.
I definitely like the fact that Alexandros enjoys learning Chinese.
The end.
I was signing up for classes as a freshman in college, and I heard Chinese was pretty difficult, so I wanted a challenge.
I know the other one, that one is fun.
I mean, I talk to them in Chinese a lot. We learn the characters. I read to them. I make them read to me. One time we're driving to school, and Alexandros turns to Andreas and asks, "Do you think Baba was born in China? They speak Chinese in China, and Baba speaks Chinese. Maybe he was born in China."
I can try to juggle two stuff.
Definitely the most exciting part of doing mathematics is the initial discovery of new idea or new method of approaching something. This problem of knot distortion by Gromov, I think it was about 2 weeks that I thought I had a solution and realized eventually I was making a standard mistake in three-dimensional topology. I guess a resistant problem is like climbing a tall mountain. The way it might be painful, but you have some sense of accomplishment at the top. I was definitely in the UK, in some gardens, probably in Bath. I was thinking about the problem like I always did on my walks. At that point in time, somehow I came upon a particular short sequence of manipulations which produced something interesting. And I could tell that there was something non-trivial there, which I hadn't been able to find through any other method. Gromov's knot distortion question asks whether a quantity known as the distortion of a knot constrains its topological complexity. The distortion measures the largest ratio over any pair of points on the knot between the distance between them along the knot and the straight line distance. Distortion is quite a weak measure of the complexity of a curve. Distortion is scale invariant, and so curves of bounded distortion can have knotting on arbitrarily small length scales. The first ingredient in answering Gromov's question is to observe that the bound on the distortion implies a quantitative version of general position. Any sphere can be perturbed so as to intersect the knot only a bounded number of times. The second ingredient is to note that for any PQ torus knot, there always exists a sphere, any small perturbation of which intersects the torus in an essential curve, hence intersects the knot at least P or Q times. Together, these imply that the distortion of a PQ torus knot is at least a constant times the minimum of P and Q. It's hard to know at the time how much significance a given solution will have. I was happy about it for sure, but I didn't really, it was not proportional. Certainly finding the solution was not proportional to the interest it's generated.
Look at smiley face, he's happy.
Another topic I've been interested in is groups of continuous symmetries of three-dimensional space. I was able to show that every compact group of such symmetries can be smoothed. I've also thought about Fukaya categories, and with Shilganatra and Vivekshande, we proved a local to global principle for wrapped Fukaya categories. The main point of that work was to identify the algebraic operation of localization of categories with a geometric operation known as wrapping of Lagrangian submanifolds. When you don't know how to start on a problem, I mean, it's definitely the most exciting because it's sort of a new thing to explore. You don't know what to expect, and you get to try anything you like, see whether it works.
Please welcome John Pardon to accept his award. Now, let us go to the third recipient. So we award Jacob Zimmerman with the Fields Medal for his contribution in recasting the O-minimality as a fundamental method of arithmetic and complex algebraic geometry, and his role in the proof of many central conjectures, including Griffith's conjecture on the algebraicity of image of the period maps, and Andre Au's conjecture for Ziegler modular varieties.
When I say music, you say nothing. Music! No, you should have said the actual word nothing. Then there was going to be a funny joke.
We're thinking about maybe considering you for a paid position.
Paid with like the money you have in your wallet?
I really like improv. What I really like about it is how off the cuff it is, how you have to make decisions quickly. It's so different to how I live most of my life, and especially with math. How slow it is, how careful it is, every little piece has to be checked. Most of my work is entirely in my head. There's no experiment, there's no lab, there's just ideas. It's just you and the problem. We have these intuitions that let us see these patterns. Often you see these connections and you have no idea where they're coming from, sort of how to build a bridge from one side to the other. I'm a professor of mathematics at the University of Toronto, and this year I'm the distinguished visiting professor at the Institute for Advanced Study. We're running a special year here on O-minimality and Hodge theory. I remember the first math puzzle I heard from my grandpa. It was a little puzzle about a toaster. If you have a toaster, but it's broken, so both slots only toast one side of the bread, and you have 3 pieces of bread that you want to fully toast both sides of, how many times must you use the toaster? It was this question that I could understand, but I couldn't answer, and then I heard the answer, and I was like, that's beautiful. And I was basically hooked. I think from then on, I did math with my grandpa, then my mom. Every chance I got to engage with math, it became my recreation time. I really fell in love with competitive math, not even so much between me and other people, but between me and the problem. I think one of the main skills, both in contest math and research math, is the ability to stay engaged, to try and stay engaged with the puzzle, with the problem, even when you don't know what to do next. It can be easy, I think, and tempting in those moments to sort of just give up. And I think contest math really taught me not to do that. Kablamo!
Oh!
You can definitely take it out.
But if it falls.
Okay, that's my fault. That it's secretly my fault. That wasn't in the way. We're competitive when we play board games, for sure. We try to win. Playing hard and fighting hard is part of the fun. My wife's name's Pia. She's great. We do all sorts of things together. All my friends love her. We got married last year, and then we had a daughter this past December. These days, we mostly spend our time with our daughter, trying to navigate being new parents together. It's very hard to know as a mathematician what you're going to figure out next. It's especially hard when you're seeing all of these like celebrations of success, that you don't see all the mountains of failure. I study the application of omnimality to algebraic geometry. So in algebraic geometry, we study shapes determined by polynomial equations, lines, circles, parabolas, very rigid structures. There's this much bigger world of analysis where there's a lot more functions and freedom. And one way of studying algebraic geometry is to dip into analysis. So take, for example, an elliptic curve. Its complex points make a one-hole donut with a complex structure. If you unwrap it, you get a parallelogram, and the ratio between the sides is a complex number. So this is an analytic function on the moduli space of elliptic curves. And if you go to degree 5, you get a two-hole donut, which unfolds into a hyperbolic octagon. This is the beginning of Hodge theory, which uses period integrals as a way of studying these algebraic objects. A difficulty is that analysis contains very wild and unpredictable functions and shapes. Things like essential singularities and natural boundaries. So working there requires you to give up all this control. Now, omnimality is a great framework for functions that don't exhibit this behavior, and it's sometimes called tame geometry. The key idea is we start with dimension 1, which is a line, and we only allow finite unions of points and intervals. In every other dimension, we allow only shapes such that no matter how we play them against each other, intersection, projection, etc., once you end up back in dimension 1, you again only get those finitely many points and intervals. So for example, the graph of the sine function is not allowed because of its oscillatory nature. So what we did is we defined this intermediate world of definable analytic geometry and showed that Hodge theory lives there. And this allowed us to prove Griffith's conjectures on algebraicity and semi-ampleness. There's this like permanent feeling of being stuck when you're doing math. You're constantly trying to get from A to B. It can take a very long time and a lot of breakthroughs to see that bridge. There's nothing really around to help you except for other people who maybe have other good ideas. Just to succeed at anything, you have to collaborate because math is so big. Almost all mathematicians now don't work alone. It's more fun and you get to sort of share your burden. One of my favorite ways of working is to call up somebody, a collaborator, and just go on like a 2-3 hour walk, throw ideas around. Through working together, our islands overlap more and more. I think a lot more of my life exists in community with other people now.
Please welcome Jacob Tielman to accept his award. Now, let us go to the fourth and the last recipient of the Fields Medal. We award Hong-Wang with the Fields Medal for her work in harmonic analysis and geometric media theory, including applications of multiscale and decoupling techniques to the local smoothing conjecture for the planar wave equation and major advance in the Fourier restriction, Falconer distance sets, Furtenstern-Bach sets in the plane, and the Kakeya problem in 3 dimensions.
Sometimes I just walk around among flowers and trees and plants. It clears my mind and makes me more calm. I just sort of let my thoughts wander and think about whatever comes to my mind. Mathematics is a way for me to understand the world. It's something that I could try to think very hard and understand from the axioms and the basics. What I understand, what I don't understand, and what needs to be understood. The first math problem that I was interested in was when I was 5 or 6. If you have 7 points in the plane, and then if 3 points in a row, and how many rows can you find? I feel quite happy when I figure out the answer. I feel like I have a clearer understanding of the subject. My parents gave me a lot of freedom to do whatever I want. They allowed me to go to bookstores and pick some interesting math books and try to solve the problems. My mom tried to teach me English, and my dad is a teacher in mathematics. When I went to college, suddenly mathematics became difficult. It took effort and discipline to actually learn it, and it took me many years. I felt a little discouraged, and I did an internship in architecture in Paris. After this internship, I decided that I should spend my most creative years in mathematics, and if it didn't work out, then I would reevaluate my choice after 5 years. After that, I stopped worrying about whether I'm good at math or not. I work in Fourier analysis and geometric measure theory. We see fractal sets in our daily life. For example, the snowflake, if you keep zooming in, then you see like some structures that are quite similar to the bigger structure. In some of the math problems that we work on, the structures are so natural that it felt that they have been there waiting for us to discover for a long time. I am a professor of mathematics at NYU Koran Institute of Mathematical Sciences and a permanent professor at the IAGS. During COVID, I ran into Tao's blog post on the Kakeya set conjecture. We decided to try to write down some details of this outline in the very special case of sticky Kakeya sets. So we have to spend a long time to overcome this. And in the end, we were more convinced that this is going to be solved. In 1917, Kakeya asked the following question. If we rotate the needle in 180 degrees, what is the smallest area it sweeps out? Surprisingly, Besekovich showed 2 years after, in 1919, that there exists a way of rotating the needle in 180 degrees such that the area it sweeps out is as small as you want. Besekovich's example showed that this set could have zero volume or zero area. A Kakeya set is a set that contains a unit line segment in every direction. The question is how small a Kakeya set could be. The Kakeya set conjecture states that any Kakeya set should have maximal dimension. Joined with George Zhao, we showed that any Kakeya set in the three-dimensional space has dimension 3. If there exists a counterexample to the Kakeya set conjecture in higher dimensions, then some functions, for example, the solutions to the linear Schrödinger equation, might be surprisingly large. Another conjecture is about Furstenberg sets, which are more general than Kakeya sets. So instead of containing a unit line segment in every direction, it contains subsets of unit line segment of fixed dimension in any direction. In New York, there is a beautiful botanical garden. The greenhouse is very humid. It reminds me of the climate of Guilin. Every time when I come back home, I feel rejuvenated, and often I will go for a walk with my parents in the park. Guilin is a very beautiful and relaxed city. Sometimes it's nice to explore other things than math.
Please welcome Hong-Wan to accept her award. I would like to invite all fields medalists to the center stage for a group photograph.
Please join me in giving our medalists one more well-deserved round of applause. Before we welcome the West Philadelphia Orchestra back onto the stage, let me describe how the local organizing committee concluded that Philadelphia would be the perfect host city for ICM 2026. The committee sought a location that would be a shining example of American history, culture, and diversity. And as a marker of history, Philadelphia is unrivaled. As Brian mentioned earlier, it was here that the American experiment began. It was here that America's founding fathers discussed and debated and ultimately signed the documents that would declare America's independence and which would set down America's core governing principles. Decades later, Philadelphia was a central hub once again. For numerous enslaved people, it was the final stop on the Underground Railroad, a network of secret routes and safe houses led by William Still, Harriet Tubman, and untold others, which transported many to freedom. Philadelphia also has deep roots in science and mathematics. The city's early surfeit of naturalists, artists, gardeners, craftsmen, collectors, and a scientifically literate populace produced the first community of scientists in America. Indeed, the American Philosophical Society, which curated the special collection of American mathematics for this year's ICM, was the country's first learned society, having been formed in 1769 from two even earlier organizations, both here in Philadelphia, that were focused on stimulating the advancement of science. Benjamin Franklin, David Rittenhouse, Isaac Greenwood, and John Winthrop are among those considered the founding fathers of American science and mathematics. And they all had deep ties in Philadelphia. When the committee visited in the summer of 2021, the city of Philadelphia opened its arms wide, showering the committee with the city's eponymous brotherly love, and showing the group all that Philadelphia had to offer math's most prestigious conference, including this beautiful convention center, leading cultural institutions, Opera Philadelphia, the Kimmel Center for the Performing Arts, as well as many wonderful museums and historic sites. And as the committee concluded their site visit, climbing the famous steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, an inconspicuous musician fiddled on his saxophone, slowly filling the air with the iconic theme music from Rocky. And as the committee reached the top step, the musician come Rocky Balboa impersonator hailed their arrival, allowing John Morgan to rest assured that Philadelphia has room for both brawn and brains. With that, the choice of Philadelphia as the host city for ICM 2026 was sealed. Please welcome back to the stage the West Philadelphia Orchestra with special guest Alex Kontorovich, who will also give a special plenary lecture later this week on the shape of math to come. The orchestra was established in 2006 as a village band for their neighborhood and has since grown to play festivals both internationally and around the US, but their hearts are Philadelphia through and through. Their music takes inspiration from the Romany brass orchestras and fanfares of Eastern Europe. Known for stellar musicianship and dynamic live shows, the band's sound is vibrant, powerful, and extremely danceable. So if you need to stretch your legs, move your arms, or tap your feet, please allow the West Philadelphia Orchestra to get you moving.
Another hand for the West Philadelphia Orchestra with special guest clarinetist Alex Kantorovich. All right, the International Congress of Mathematicians also celebrates mathematical achievements through 4 additional awards, including the IMU Abacus Medal, which is presented to an individual for outstanding contributions in mathematical aspects of information sciences, covering all mathematical aspects of computer science, complexity theory, logic of programming languages, analysis of algorithms, cryptography, computer vision, pattern recognition, information processing, modeling of intelligence, scientific computing and numerical analysis, computational aspects of optimization and control theory, and computer algebra. Please welcome to the stage Matti Lasses, professor at the University of Helsinki, who will present the medal alongside Hiraku Nakajima.
For those who don't know what is abacus, I bring it from Japan. So I learned how to use it in elementary school when I was in elementary school, but no longer this teaching was stopped. So unfortunately, my children don't know how to use it. So the IMU Abacus Medal 2026 is awarded to Cheyenne Ovis Garland for his landmark contribution to the theory of algorithms, taking the analysis of algorithms beyond the combinatorics and probabilistic analysis into the theory of the geometry of polynomials and related topics. This theory has led to deeper understanding of spanning trees and matholoid bases in general. Ovis Garland's work improved the approximation of the metric traveling salesperson problem, breaking the limit on the approximation factor in Christophidis 3/2 algorithm from 50 years ago, and led to a revolution in the understanding of Markov chain Monte Carlo sampling algorithm, proving the Mihail Bazilanin conjecture and giving a self-contained proof that resolved the strongest version of Masson's conjecture through spectral independence.
Nowruz is a celebration by Persians for more than thousands of years. We gather with our relatives. As kids, we got gifts, mostly money. It's been such a joyful memory of my childhood. The table is called Haft Sin. Haft means 7 in Farsi, and the 7 items on the table represent our wishes for health, beauty, love, fertility, rebirth, new beginning, and patience. For me, Nowruz is a moment of renewal. I see all these trees and flowers which looked dying a minute ago, which are now blooming, and it's like they have a new life. I'm thinking of all my family members who couldn't be with me at this moment. This year's Nowruz is very difficult for me, while my fellow Iranians are suffering and being killed. Iranian people don't want anything special, they just want a normal life. I'm a professor in the Paul Allen School of Computer Science and Engineering at the University of Washington in Seattle. I was born in a warm and loving family in the center of Iran in a historic city of Isfahan. My family was academically focused thanks to the stubbornness of my mom. I remember she used to hide our TV. One of the decisive points for me to become a mathematician and a computer scientist was when my brother Shahab gave me this book, How to Count Without Counting. At the beginning, I started working on TSP, Traveling Salesperson Problem. Suppose you go to a tennis lesson. At the end of the lesson, the instructor asks you to gather all the 100 balls in the court. So you want to know what is the fastest way to gather all of these balls, put them in the basket, and be done with it and go home. That's exactly the TSP problem. No computer can find the optimum solution in a reasonable time, and neither would any human be able to. Since you cannot find the optimum solution in approximation algorithms, we design an algorithm that finds a solution which is only, say, 50% worse than the optimum, provably. I don't just see the tree, I just try to imagine it with no leaves or fruits, just the stem and the branches. Mathematically, a spanning tree is defined by a minimum set of sticks you need to put together to connect the stem to all of the leaves. The question is, which one should you choose? Turns out that random trees, to put these sticks randomly, works out much better than doing it a fixed way. The classical algorithm for TSP starts by choosing a minimum spanning tree to connect all of the cities, and then it adds a number of highways to turn it into a tour. Our main idea is to choose a random spanning tree instead to avoid any specific structure that the adversary has planted. The main outcome of our work is not only a slightly improved approximation, but it's that 50% is not the limit of what you can do with computers efficiently. You should be able to do much better. And now many researchers are trying to use our ideas to design a much better approximation for TSP. Think about a screw that nobody has seen before. Everybody is trying to turn this screw. So what I'm trying to do is to come up with a screwdriver to turn the screw. The only information I may have is to look at it from a very far distance. Most of my research is in trying to come up with the right screwdriver. And hopefully after you do that, you just turn the screw and you solve the open problem. When I think about an open problem, it is quite often that all of the ideas I have in mind fail. My wife, in that difficult time, was the main support. He always tells me, yeah, I know you're gonna fail again and again, don't worry about it. My kid, on the other hand, Faraz, is the joy. It doesn't matter how desperate your day was, it's like the minute he comes home, like you can forget about everything and it's as if nothing bad has happened and you haven't failed again. When I let my mind flow freely, that's where it may find a new approach that I've never thought about before. I would not have expected to come this far in the mathematics world. So I think all of that as a gift from God. In Iranian and Muslim cultures, this year, two of those greatest moments come together, Nowruz and Eid al-Fitr, which is the day marking the end of Ramadan. It's a very good time to focus and think about the most important things in the life and try to do better.
Please welcome Shayan Obisgaran to the stage to accept his medal.
We would now like to honor recipients of the Chern Medal Award and the Carl Friedrich Gauss Prize. The Gauss Prize, first awarded to Kiyoshi Ito in 2006, honors scientists whose mathematical research has had an impact outside mathematics, either in technology, in business, or simply in people's everyday lives. The prize is awarded jointly by the Deutsche Mathematiker Vereinigung and the International Mathematical Union. The Chern Medal Award, named for eminent mathematician Xing-Shen Chern, is presented to an individual whose accomplishments warrant the highest level of recognition for outstanding achievements in the field of mathematics. All living natural persons, regardless of age or vocation, shall be eligible for the medal. We now welcome Hiraku Nakajima back to the lectern to announce ICM 2026 honorees, as well as Mei Chu and Claire Chu of the S.S. Chern Foundation for Mathematical Research, and Jörg Kramer, President of the German Mathematical Society.
Graham Seagal is awarded the Chern Medal 2026 for his visionary mathematical insight that had enduring influence in a wide range of fields, including topology, mathematical physics, representation theory, and category theory.
You can say there are two kinds of people. People who would like the world to be all one kind of thing, and people who are delighted by the multiplicity of things in the world. And I'm one extreme. I like the idea that everything is sort of made of one thing. I'd say we make sense of space via the idea of a one-dimensional continuum. We think of almost everything: space, time, color, sound, taste, pleasure, pain, and moral excellence. We arrange them all in order along a metaphorical line. And space is a network of such continua. Modern physics thinks that the world is a kind of elastic space-time. And the elasticity comprises gravitation, electromagnetic interactions, strong interactions, and so on. And out of that, a human being looking at that will see particles and will not see a tissue filled with rather continuous information. It's a sort of elastic fabric. No one understands quite why that is, but that's what fascinates me. And it's trying to understand the nature of that elastic stuff. That's what I do. I came to Oxford in 1963 from Australia, and I was very fortunate to get a junior post in a small Oxford college, Worcester College. I was completely captivated. For 25 years, I was a teaching fellow at St. Catherine's College. Michael Atiyah was a fellow of this college, and so was Nigel Hitchen, and we had lunch together every day and talked about mathematics. I love being in the middle of All Souls, looking out across the courtyard where you see the university church, and I love to think that that would have looked the same 300 years ago. I've been attached to Marina for roughly 25 years. I think she'd call herself a cultural historian. She became famous in the 1970s writing a book about the Virgin Mary. She was on television constantly and so on. She was this tremendously glamorous girl who was sort of a million miles away from any society I frequented. I'm between two worlds because I love being part of Marina's literary London. Marina believes that human life is all about the stories that we tell each other. I believe mathematics is about telling stories. It's about how you look at things. Mathematics is a language. It really is a language. I think the main thing I did in mathematics was somehow explain that the totality of discrete finite sets, in some sense, is equivalent to the families of maps between spheres. I invented a technique for going between the infinite dimensional space of maps, say from one sphere to another, to the finite sets of points in a plane or a Euclidean space. My life's been blessed by a succession of great mathematicians who've been prepared to spend time talking to me. A succession of unexpected, deep influences. Michael Atiyah first, with his close collaborators Raoul Bott and Iz Singer. Michael set me to prove the Atiyah-Siegel completion theorem. Next came George Mackey. He spent a term in Oxford and taught us group representation theory. After that I met Grothendieck and was intoxicated by his new approach to algebraic geometry. In 1969-70 I was at the IAS. Dan Quillen and Dennis Sullivan, both there in the same year, changed my direction completely. Dan Quillen told me how finite sets are related to maps between spheres. That led into infinite loop space theory and the so-called Siegel conjecture, which it took others many years to prove. Then a semester in Brezhnev's Moscow, where the Russian approach to mathematics was unlike anything I'd encountered in the West. Finally, Edward Witten. He created a revolution in world mathematics. But all of a sudden I could see the possibility of using what I knew in topology to say something genuine about quantum field theory and string theory. First, it led me into integrable systems and loop groups, but then to the work on conformal field theory that I'm most proud of. I have a house in Oxford. I feel I ought to spend more time there all alone thinking about mathematics. I need solitude to produce real mathematical output. Even when I'm being distracted, mathematics is sort of going on in me. I want to understand the nature of the universe.
Graham Seeger could not join us today. Please welcome Dan Fried to accept the award on his behalf. And now I'd like to welcome your climate to the stage. The Gauss Prize is awarded to Yuri Nesterov for his groundbreaking work on mathematical optimization that provide the theoretical foundation and algorithmic backbone for many numerical and data-driven fields, enabling practical computation that were previously too time-consuming to be feasible.
It's always pleasant to see young persons which are always excited by something. They still do not have major problems, so they just enjoy life around, and you enjoy life with them also. I work at this university for 30 years already, and I had a lot of support from the administration and my colleagues. So practically all my main results are obtained here. This town was constructed as a pedestrian town, a town of the future. Traffic inside is almost absent. From the very beginning, I interested in one question. How do you find a good solution to a problem of optimization in the best possible way? That question has stayed with me for nearly 50 years. Optimization very often arises as a solution to some equilibrium problem. For example, the problem of traffic congestion. We have drivers. Everybody wants to travel from origin to destination in the shortest travel time. And if everybody start to do that, they create congestion. Finally, so it will be stabilized on certain level where all routes are equally bad. So this is equilibrium. And the problem is how to find it. I started my journey in 1977, graduating from the Department of Computational Mathematics at Moscow State Universities. Moscow at that time was a remarkable place, the best minds of a huge country of 300 million people in one city. As a young researcher, I could simply take a bus across the city to hear completely different perspective. That freedom to compare and to choose your own direction shaped how I approach science to this day. I started to work in Moscow in Central Economical and Mathematical Institute of Academy of Sciences. After 15 years, I moved to Belgium to Center of Operations Research and Econometrics at Catholic University of Louvain. Early in my career, I worked on what we call first-order methods, algorithms that use very limited information, like gradients, to solve large-scale problems. I developed what is now known as the fast gradient method for minimizing differentiable functions. It was mathematically optimal, but for many years no one used it. When we have slow movement, we walk, so it is enough to look at the road at the place where you are now. But when you run, you should look forward. And the faster is the movement, the bigger is the distance where you collect the information about the curvature of the road. I also worked on other ideas, self-concordant functions, linear matrix inequalities, tools that found applications much more quickly. And that contrast taught me something important. A beautiful result is not enough. Nobody cares about it up to the moment you find its practical application. Many years later, something unexpected happened. I found two overlapping pages on my desk, pages from different years and different subjects. When I looked at them together, I saw a connection. By adjusting a basic assumption in our models, we found a way to approximate non-differentiable problems with smooth ones, unlocking far more efficient optimization schemes. We could take the problem with slow methods and make them fast, thousands of iterations instead of millions. That started the second life of the fast gradient method, and it led directly into applications we now see everywhere in machine learning and artificial intelligence, signal processing, and many others. The things which happens now with all this training of ChatGPT and so on, people say that they take a lot of energy. It's just the proof that we need to improve the algorithm, not to put more and more energy in all these, power plants or whatever. Over the years, working across mathematics, economics, engineering, and through collaborations, including now Hungary and China, I have seen how new perspectives create new possibilities. My wife, she has the same background as me, so we met at the same research institute. She is very well integrated in this Belgian life, so we have many friends. We have two sons, and now we have, in addition to granddaughters, and again our family life is concentrated around these girls because they live not too far from us, so we meet every day. I am retired in a very bad moment, I would say. So this is the moment when the artificial intelligence gives us a lot of new applications and many new challenges. And I still want to participate a little bit in all of that. So it is crazy to stop right now.
Please welcome Yuri Nesterov to the stage to accept his prize.
And now, Our final award is the Lilavati Prize, sponsored by Infosys. The prize is intended to accord high recognition and great appreciation of the outstanding contributions for increasing public awareness of mathematics as an intellectual discipline and the crucial role it plays in diverse human endeavors. To award the Lilavati Prize, please welcome back to the lectern Hiraku Nakajima.
The Lilavati Prize is awarded to Hannah Fry. Fry is one of the foremost global ambassadors for mathematical thinking. She has become a voice for mathematics that resonates far beyond the public audience normally interested in science communication. Through a wide range of media, including books, videos, and television programs, she has used outstanding creativity and originality to translate mathematics into a language of wonder and relevance for the public without diminishing its scope and importance.
Right, so here is something nobody tells you about mathematics. It is not about numbers. I mean, it involves numbers, obviously, but what it's really about, what it's always been about, is patterns. And once you start seeing patterns, you literally cannot stop. They are everywhere. In the way diseases spread, in the way that cities grow, in the way that people fall in love, in the way traffic jams form on a motorway even when there is no accident, just because one person braked slightly too hard 20 minutes ago 10 miles back. Maths is not abstract. Maths is the language the world is written in. I'm Hannah Fry. I'm a mathematician at Cambridge, which still sounds genuinely weird to say out loud, to be honest. I'm actually the first ever professor of the public understanding of mathematics there, which is a title that is simultaneously grand and slightly hilarious. I started out doing my PhD in fluid dynamics, literally studying how liquids move. Then I spent a bit of time as an aerodynamicist in motorsport, which was brilliant. And then I ended up at University College London, studying the mathematics of cities, of how people move and cluster and fight and fall in love and commit crimes and make decisions. And at some point, largely by accident, if I'm honest, I started trying to explain all of this on telly. I gave a TED talk in 2015 about the mathematics of love, which was on Valentine's Day, which was quite tongue-in-cheek.
Now, in my favourite paper on the subject, which is entitled Why I Don't Have a Girlfriend, Peter Backus tries to rate his chances of finding love.
I thought it was funny at the very least. Anyway, it turned out to be one of the most watched TED Talks of that year, and as a result, I became a bit of an accidental broadcaster.
Welcome to The Rest is Science. My name's Hannah Fry.
And I am Michael Stevens.
Okay, here's a question for you, Michael. What is going on with feet?
Here's what I think people fundamentally misunderstand about mathematics. They think it is difficult, irrelevant, and uninteresting. And I get that. That's often how it's taught. But it's a bit like saying music is just someone hitting piano keys, which is technically true, but also completely missing the point. During the pandemic, I used to get taxis into town to record my radio program. And one night, I had this really long conversation with the cab driver about exponential functions, about logarithmic axes, about the rate of change, about the rate of change. It was a proper mathematical conversation. And he was the one that was asking the questions. He was curious, he was engaged. The limit to understanding is never someone's ability to understand. The limit is always in their motivation to care. And my job is to give people that motivation.
I want to tell you about what I think is the most mathematically satisfying place on Earth.
Because I genuinely believe that everybody's brains are pre-wired to be just a little bit mathematical. You just have to give them a reason to care.
And so I hope that perhaps for just a couple of you, a little bit of insight into the mathematics of love can persuade you to have a little bit more love for mathematics.
I've spent my whole career telling people that maths can help you navigate uncertainty, that probability is your friend, that the numbers, if you understand them, will actually make you less frightened, not more. And then in 2020, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and suddenly the numbers were about me.
That means I might be stage 3 cancer.
I documented how I was feeling. I kept a diary. I started filming little bits on my phone, and I ended up making a documentary. It felt like the only thing I knew how to do. When something like this happens, I mean, you get ripped in two, and part of you is the person who's having that experience, and part of you is the person who is watching yourself have that experience and analysing it and trying to make predictions. Thankfully, the cancer is gone. And I will be honest with you, there was a button I could press that meant I'd never had it. I genuinely don't think I would press it.
I think in the last year I've just spoken to so many cancer patients and so many cancer doctors and read so much about it and written so much about it that actually it means that I can be quite objective about the whole experience now in a way that I couldn't at the time.
The whole process just made me so much freer. I stopped worrying about whether people liked me. I started walking into rooms with the assumption that people would think I was all right unless I gave them reason to think otherwise. And it changed how I think about mathematics too. What I learned is that knowing the statistics doesn't tell you how anything will feel. And I think that we forget that when we put our faith in numbers. Algorithms and data need to be there to support the human decision, not to replace it. I do think that mathematics can give us power, real power here. But I also think that being human is about knowing what to do with it. And that tension between what the numbers say and what you actually do, that's not a problem to be solved. That's the whole point.
Hannah Fly could not join us today. Please welcome Carola Vivian Schoenlieb to accept the award on her behalf. I'd like to invite all the winners and the prize partners to center stage for a group photo. Please give one more round of applause for Cheyenne Ombisgaran, Graham Seagal, Yuri Nestev, and Hannah Fly. So it is customary that opening ceremony has award part and also an interesting part, unfortunately. So this is a report of IMU activities. Dear colleagues, dear participants, and those joining us online via the live stream, it is my great pleasure and honor as President of International Mathematical Union to welcome you to this uninteresting part of the International Congress opening ceremony here in Philadelphia. The ICM is the most important gathering of our global mathematical community. Every 4 years, mathematicians from many countries, many generations, and many areas of mathematics come together to listen, to learn, to celebrate, and to think about the future of our discipline. This Congress has a special meaning. The previous ICM in 2022 could not be held in the usual way because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It took a hybrid form with the opening ceremony in Helsinki, Finland, and the scientific program held online. We are grateful to the organizer of Virtual ICM 2022 who hosted scientific program under extremely difficult circumstances. But of course, an online Congress cannot fully replace the experience of meeting in person. Therefore, this ICM is the first regular ICM in 8 years. Many mathematicians have been waiting for this moment. We have missed the atmosphere of the ICM, the lectures, the conversations, the chance of meeting and discussion after talks. I am very happy that we can gather again in this way. The IMU exists to support the worldwide mathematical community. Its mission is to promote international cooperation in mathematics to support the development of mathematics in all countries, and to help ensure that the mathematicians can meet, communicate, and work together. These goals sound simple, but they are not automatic. They require effort, trust, and shared commitment. Recent years have reminded us that international scientific cooperation is fragile. We have faced a pandemic, wars, political tensions, visa difficulties, economic inequality, and many other obstacles. Mathematics cannot solve all these problems by itself. But as a mathematical community, we must recognize the difficulties that stand in the way of international cooperation, and we must reaffirm our commitment to work together to overcome them. We should remain open to one another. We should support colleagues in difficult circumstances. And we should make our meeting place where excellence, dignity, and humanity are all respected. At the same time, mathematics stress is entering a period of rapid change. Recent progress in artificial intelligence is beginning to show signs of transforming the way mathematical reasoning is conducted. We do not yet know exactly how deep this transformation will be, but it raises important questions for our community. Some of these questions will be discussed in public lectures and panel discussions during this conference. And I hope many of you will take part in these conversations. On behalf of IMU, I'd like to thank the local organizers, the structure committee, the program committee, the section panel, the prize committee, the volunteers, the sponsors, and many institutions and individuals who have worked for years to make this Congress possible. I will now announce the name of prize committee members whose names were confidential until this moment. So I already explained the Field Medal Committee. Chair is myself, Wei-Nan Yi, Alessio Figari, Udi Khrushchevsky, Jim McFarn, Svetlana Zhitmirskaya, Jean-Francois Lugao, Wolfgang Luck, Karen Bockman, Nicholas Ormet. And additionally, Larry Goose, Bao Chao-Guo, Sylvia Selfati were committee members initially, but resigned before the last decision because of conflict of interest. The IMU Abacus Medal Committee comprise Andres Sully, Chair, Konstantinos Daskalakis, Irit Dinu, Satoru Iwata, Christian Rubik, and Dana Rana. The Chan Medal Committee comprises Natalie Wall as the chair, Ben Andrews, Gerard Ben Arus, Takuro Mochizuki, and Eva Beeman. The Gauss Committee comprises Felix Otto, Raymond Berger, Daniel Haar, Martin Lassas, Monique Laurent, and Claudia Sabactizabal. The Relative Prize Committee comprises Hinke Oshinga as the chair, Shuyen Chen, Madhava Mukund, Lois Ononga, Clara Grima-Luis, and Akshay Venkatesh. And ICM Eminenta Lecture Committee comprises Jip Pfeiffer as the chair, Martin Brisson, Nami Mock, Ursa Mota, Sarah Jervis. We are extremely grateful for their work in choosing the recipients of the IME prizes. I'd like to thank all speakers and participants. Our Congress becomes meaningful only because people come, speak, listen, ask questions, and continue the conversation. I hope that this week will be filled not only with excellent lectures, but also the informal discussion in halfways over coffee at lunch table and in many unexpected moments. Let me also mention one of our continuing responsibilities. Mathematics is universal, but access to mathematics is not yet universal. Talent is a barrier, but opportunity is not. The MU continues to support mathematics in developing countries to encourage participation by underrepresented groups and to broaden access to mathematical knowledge. We are grateful for the general support for the local organizing committee for the Travel Support Program. On behalf of the International Mathematical Union, I warmly welcome you to the International Congress of Mathematicians 2026. I wish you all inspiring, enjoyable, and memorable Congress. Thank you very much. So I'd like to welcome IMU Secretary General, Christopher Zoga, who will report on another IMU activities.
Dear colleagues, my name is Christoph Sorger. I'm a professor at the University of Nantes, and since 2023, I have served as the Secretary General of the International Mathematical Union. So we don't do these things because they're easy. We do them because they're hard. This is a variation of President John F. Kennedy's famous words from his speech at Rice University in 1962. Switch the number, 26. So these words apply to the prize winners you have just seen, each of whom has worked tirelessly to reach their own moon. And they also apply to the invited speaker of the International Congress of Mathematicians. So every ICM reflects the current state of mathematical research around the world. It showcases the finest work being carried out across all areas of mathematics and in every region of the world, while pointing the way toward the future of our discipline. The invited speakers at an ICM are mathematicians of the highest distinction, selected for the excellence of their research and their ability to communicate the most exciting recent developments to a broad mathematical audience. Two committees are responsible for the scientific program of the ICM: the ICM Structure Committee and the ICM Program Committee. The Structure Committee is responsible for designing the overall scientific program of the ICM. In particular, it determines the number of plenary lectures, the scientific sections, and their precise scope, the target number of talks in each section, other categories of lectures, and the overall organization of the sections. The Structure Committee for ICM 2026 started its work after ICM 2022 and issued its report in October 23. We have a very precise timeline for the organization of the ICM, and we need the report 3 years in advance so that the program committee can start its work. The composition of the Structure Committee is public. Its members are Martin Herrer, Hiraku Nakajima, Nalili Anatanaram, Annalisa Buffa, Wayne E., Irene Fonseca, Isabel Gallagher, Mike Hopkins, Meena Mahajan, Terence Tao, Akshay Venkatesh, Anna Wienhardt, and Jordi Williamson. The ICM Program Committee is responsible for selecting the invited speakers for the M. In particular, it selects the plenary speakers, the special plenary speakers, sectional speakers, and special sectional speakers. The composition of the program committee is kept confidential throughout the selection process. Only the name of the chair is made public. And I will now disclose the full composition of the program committee. The chair, public chair, is Claire Voisin, and then members of the committee were Jian Ding, Tobias Ekholm, Anna Gilbert, Michael Jordan, Gil Kalai, Eugenia Malnikova, Nada Masmoudi, Rita Bratamunci, Kavita Ramanan, Benjamin Schlein, Katharina Stroppel, and Marcello Viana. In addition to the program committee, each section has a section panel. The panel chairs and core members are appointed by the program committee. Each panel then completes its own membership, resulting in a panel of approximately 6 to 9 members. The full list of section panel chairs and members is too long to present here. We can count about 140 mathematicians in the panels together with the program committee, so about 150 mathematicians select 240 speakers. So it's a huge effort of our community to select the speakers, and the whole panels and section panels will be published today on the IMU website. So I would like to report now on an important decision that had been made during the General Assembly in New York on July 2020 to 21, so a few days ago, about the new IMU leadership. So the elections have been taken place, and I would like to announce the new IMU leadership. So I need the next slide for that. And so the president for the IMU Executive Committee will be Ulrike Tillmann. I will continue for a second term as Secretary General. This is tradition since 1920. And Vice Presidents will be Shuhua He and Giulia Stafilani. And EC members at large are Zhonghe Kyum, Mahan M, Kavita Ramanan, Tatiana Toro, Josephine Waimru Kagunda, and Tamar Ziegler. One of our important commissions is the Commission for Developing Countries. Here again, we had election, and the new president for the term 2027 to 2030 will be, as a president, Balash Chendroy, Secretary for Policy, Raghavan, Secretary for Grant Selection, Peng Shan, and the members at large will be Norbert Ukunku, Umida Beltayeva, and Marielle Saez-Trumper. And finally, there's been a third committee where we add some members to the International Commission on the History of Mathematics. So members at large coming from the IMU will be Guillermo Corbera and Carmen Martinez Adam Isais. Thank you. There has been another important decision that has been made during the General Assembly. This is a new award. This award is the Ladyshenskaya Medal. So the Ladyshenskaya Medal honors Olga Alexandrova Ladyshenskaya for her pioneering contributions to partial differential equations and fluid dynamics. The medal will be awarded every 4 years at the International Congress of Mathematicians to up to 2 mid-career mathematicians representing all branches of mathematics. The idea of establishing a prize in her name originated with the local organizing committee of ICM 2022, which celebrated the centenary of her birth. On July 2, 2022, Svetlana Chitomiskaya received the commemorative Ladyshenskaya Prize in Helsinki. The Ladyshenskaya Medal has now been formally established by the IMU General Assembly. It will be awarded for the first time as an official IMU prize at the ICM 2030, and Svetlana Chitomiskaya will be recognized as the first recipient of the Ladyshenskaya Medal. So we are here for ICM 2026, but we also want to look to the future. And during the 20th General Assembly of the International Mathematical Union, it was decided that the next General Assembly will be held at the Concert Hall of the Royal Dublin Society in Dublin in July 2030, and the International Congress of Mathematicians in 2030 will be held at the Scottish Event Campus in Glasgow, Scotland in July 2030. And I would like to show you a small video about Glasgow just now.
And with that, colleagues and friends, we conclude the 2026 ICM opening ceremony. But
before we say goodbye, the West Philadelphia Orchestra will play us into lunch. We would also like to remind our prize and medal winners to head to the press conference in room 126A directly after. Once again, the West Philadelphia Orchestra.